The first question is this. What specific plan do you have to increase municipal revenues and lower the crushing burden of spiraling property taxes on city residents? Specifically, have you given any consideration to imposing a payroll tax like Newark's, which will include commuters, while lowering property taxes for city residents?
It's Jim Golden, and thank you very much for hosting this forum. I get to answer that question first, and very specifically, I believe that for all Trentonians, we absolutely must grow our population. We've got to expand our tax base, which is very narrow and ever eroding. We need to turn that trend around. I believe we can do that a couple of ways. We have tremendous affordable housing stock here in the city of Trenton. Right now, we're considered one of the 5 most affordable small cities in America. We need to take advantage of that status and get working and middle-income families into our city, into these homes, paying taxes. The way to start the recovery and the revitalization of our economy is to grow our tax base, get more people moving into the community. And to the extent that we do that, I believe we will not only raise revenues, but certainly ease the tax burden on citizens. And finally, let me get quickly to the commuter tax, also known as city wage tax. Where I come from, there is indeed a city wage tax for those who live in the city and those who work in the city. That is something that our administration will certainly explore for the city of Trenton.
Good evening. I clearly, under the Jackson administration, will look at every revenue source, including a commuter's or a local wage tax for folks who work in our great city but live outside the city. That's one of the many tools that we will explore. But before that, we would have to do a forensic audit to look at all the fiscal pictures of the city. Look at our tax base, our grants, our fines and fees that we assess for services, and see where we can make internal improvements to maximize those areas. Then we would have to look at leveraging our abandoned properties and make sure that they're returned quickly to our tax rolls as quickly as possible. We would look to then develop and grow our opportunities for financial revenues here in our city by every means possible. We would look at the opportunities to use our resources efficiently and effectively to make sure we're using every dollar wisely. Part of the tools that we would use was to evaluate the things that we do well to make sure the resources that we're bringing in will work to strengthen the alternatives that will be to look at a commuter-based tax and other revenue generations along with grants to make sure we maximize the revenue coming into cities so we ultimately can stabilize and or to reduce the tax burden on those that pay taxes in our city. And then at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our state government pays its fair share. Thank you.
Good evening. Buenas noches a todos. What I would do is absolutely, my experience in Washington, D.C. was that we had to pay a wage tax. I lived in Virginia, you had to pay a wage tax. It was just part of the process. That's the way the government is supposed to be. If you're in there utilizing their and taking care of their critical infrastructure, like their roadways, using the water, emergency services, you should pay taxes. So I would be for that. Absolutely. The other thing is that we have many ways of generating revenue. And one of them we just heard in our opening statement, which is you have to create jobs through helping small businesses. We have a lot of small business opportunities out there right now where we can support these people who are currently working in our communities, exporting, importing, developing products, and also one of the biggest things to do is if you don't have a job, you create a job. Everybody talks about the abandoned properties, but the abandoned properties require a true assessment of their structural validity before we can do anything with it, which hasn't been done in quite a while. We just had some collapse last week where our firefighters had to respond to them. We just had a collapse in Mill Hill where our firefighters had to respond to them. So it really takes a true leader that understands the entire concept, the life cycle of what it means to really generate funds and tax base.
Buenas noches. I would certainly agree to a wage tax in Trenton. First of all, nobody at this table would oppose it because the people that live out of the city can't vote for us anyway. So it doesn't matter. We should definitely think about imposing a wage tax. And here's why. We have Trenton is very unique because we host thousands of people that come into our city every day. Thousands, up to about 30,000 people come into Trenton. And the only thing they leave here with is the exhaust from their fumes trying to get across that bridge or trying to get down 29. We have got to think about a way that we can get some revenue from these people. And if the governor or the state legislature does not help us with the payment in lieu of taxes, we have no other choice. Because I don't know about anybody else in here, I can't afford to pay any higher taxes than what I'm paying. And I absolutely think that as a property owner, we have to think of new and creative ways to generate revenue from our city. We can do it with user fees, but that's not going to be enough.
The Trenton Water Works is a major city asset. How would you operate Trenton Water Works more effectively?
I believe to use our waterworks to maximize its capacity is to begin to expand its services beyond the borders of our service distribution system right now. Over the last few years, we've upgraded our system to a capacity of about $55 million that allows our system to be used beyond the bordering townships. We need to enter into interlocal agreements with the townships beyond Ewing, beyond Hamilton, beyond Lawrence, and Hopewell, where our system can be built out to those new communities being built around the circumferences of those neighborhoods and bring water service, water delivery service to those communities to bring revenue back into the city of Trenton. Our system is a very good system. We have some work to do to tweak it, to make it better. However, there are opportunities to do expansion with our systems. By also doing that, we can bring new technology and keep upgrading our system to make sure that the water delivery system works at its peak levels. We can now operate over 47 million gallons of water per day out of our water system. And we only need and produce daily approximately 27 million gallons for the service system that we provide. I believe by extending the service distribution system into neighboring communities, we can do more to aid our city.
I would begin by hiring qualified people. The Trenton Water Works for a long time has had a tradition where they just hire people and that's where they stick them. And that's been apparent throughout the past 24 years. We can't do that anymore. We need to hire qualified people. We have a lot of biochemists out there who truly need work, who can come in and help us give a qualified service. The other thing is provide professional development for those employees who are currently there, to help them upgrade their level of service that they provide you. We can then provide new customers and our current customers probably the best service in this area. Trenton always has a great story to tell, and we have some great people who currently work there. So what we want to do is capitalize on the current employees that we have working at the Trenton Water Works. What we want to do is we want to provide them professional development, and what we want to do is we want to bring in true professionals who can really take us to this next level of the 21st century delivery of one of the #1 products in the world for survival, which is our water. Thank you.
It's no secret that the Trenton Water Department, Trenton Water Works, has been mismanaged for a very long time. The first thing I would do is go in, look at the table of organization, and do a forensic audit and see exactly where the waste is. As taxpayers, we can no longer afford mismanage in overtime, mismanage in resources being lost, not only the tools, but just everything. There's no accountability in the Trenton Water Works. And we got to get to a place where we can get some accountability in that department. That is a revenue generating department. We have got to get a handle on where the money goes and where the money is in that water department. We also have to get grants, which we did get, to fix these streets. Our streets are appalling. We have to get these streets fixed and go after the grants for these streets and for infrastructure in the water department. These are things that haven't been done. And we also have to we have to train our people so that when they go into the water department or when they go pay their bills, they get good customer service. It is ridiculous how untrained some of the staff are.
Thank you. It's no secret that the Trenton Waterworks is known, recently at least, as a department or division rife with corruption, scandal. It is understaffed, undertrained, and certainly undermanaged. So it's a poignant question. We need to go in. I believe we ought to make it a separate department, its own department. It is about a $58 million enterprise that, as I said, is being grossly mismanaged. The first thing, zero-base the budget for that division. And let's find out from the very beginning what it is that we're doing and how we can do it better. The employees, for example, we learned recently that they weren't even able to staff key positions in that division because we couldn't find qualified individuals or those who were certified to do those very important technical jobs. So I am proposing that the Trenton Waterworks become its own separate operating department and that we zero-base the operation from top to bottom, from bottom to top, and make sure that we staff it appropriately and bring in the right kind of highly qualified management to lead that organization.
Some of the concerns raised to us by Latino business owners, such as inequitable inspection practices and fees, excessive red tape in permit approvals, lack of information and access to municipal requests for proposals, and a crisis of public safety. What will you do to address these issues? Would you support, specifically, would you support the creation of an office of a small business that would help local business owners interact with a more business-friendly, informative, and transparent city hall?
Absolutely. I would support creating a small business office that would be interactive with our businessmen and women who are trying to help us raise the economic vitality of the city. I truly believe that we need someone there that understands the audience, so we're going to have some bilingual services. We have a lot of people who are good businessmen but just don't speak the language. And then when it comes to RFP, which is the request for proposals, we're going to have to start putting them out in both languages. All right, so that way it can be fair and open competition for our businessmen. I have recently met with some of our local businessmen to talk about several things when it comes to public safety. Many of them currently have to hire police officers on the weekends and through the weeks so that they can protect their local establishments. What I proposed to them was that we come together, create pay a higher amount to the city, which they currently do, and have patrols in that area to help reduce the crime. We don't have to wait for the city every time. We have available to us resources that we can use to help lower the crime and allow our businesses to flourish. And then the other piece was the inspection process. The inspection process is known. The business process is broken. We need better qualified inspectors, and we need them to come out on a timely basis. Thank you.
I would absolutely agree to have an advisory to help streamline, an advisory board to help streamline the business opportunities we have. We need our banks, we need our business community to all collaborate together so that people who want to do business in Trenton can have a place to come, get their trade names, to understand how to do business in Trenton, how to do it quickly, how to cut through the red tape. I absolutely hear you loud and clear. Your people are definitely not being treated well. As I go out in the community, I hear the stories on how they're harassed in City Hall by some different people. And I think that we need to do better than that, because we all come from different places, but we're all the same family. So we got to definitely work together to make sure that the people get the best treatment that they deserve.
Trenton needs to open for business as a government, number one. And right now, we're not open for business. I think the first thing to do is to create a taxpayer comes first mentality. We're in the business, or we're supposed to be at least, as a government, of providing quality, direct services to our constituents. And so we need to create that kind of culture across city government. We've got to have the kind of government that, frankly, we need to reinvent ourselves. We need to have performance management and accountability all across the government. We don't have that right now. We're a $200 million operation, and yet there are no goals or benchmarks. We don't really know how we're going to spend the money. All we know is that we're going to spend it, and typically there isn't enough of it. We hold ourselves accountable by establishing those goals and benchmarks, and then doing what it takes to get the job done the way we say we're going to do it. So we've got to deliver quality customer service, and one of the things that I'm proposing in the Golden administration is that we consolidate services. I think inspections needs to be folded into our economic development operation so that it becomes more efficient and it's an easier way for all of us to do business. Thank you.
Clearly, I would support a small business council that would meet with me at least on a quarterly basis so that we can continue in a dialogue to understand, one, the ongoing needs of the small business council of our city and the small business of our city, but equally so that concerns can be brought forth, that we can hold ourselves accountable to the resolution of those problems. I do envision a government-friendly environment that works for the residents and businesses of our city. Specifically to the question of inspections. One, I believe we need additional inspectors that are trained and qualified to do their job and that are held to a high level of accountability to deal with our business owners and homeowners with the level of dignity and respect that we deserve. I do believe that we have many who have done the job well, many who need professional development and training. These are the aspects that, as I've been across the city, talking with many of the merchant owners across the city, say inspections, we need to do better with our area of inspections. As the next mayor, I'm hopeful that we will work together, the Merchants Association, along with the administration, to bring a higher level of accountability, yet a government that works for the people, that doesn't hinder, but help in the process as we move our city forward.
You candidates have heard about the study by the Trenton Health Team, and they've identified certain areas of great concern. The high rates of uninsurance, childhood obesity, substance abuse, domestic violence, and chronic diseases. And the question is, how would you cooperate with existing agencies to implement programs and allocate resources that would meet these needs?
Yes, thank you. We all know that wellness and prevention is very important to keeping our community healthy. And we have, especially in our students, we have a high level of obesity. We have juvenile diabetes is running rampant in our community. And we also have to think about violence when we think about keeping healthy. Violence and crime is also, it threatens our wellness. We have to use a close collaborative effort so that the state, the county, and the city can introduce initiatives to keep our citizens informed about the state of their health. We can no longer ignore these health issues, because not only is it a danger to our national security, it's also a danger to our existence. We have to be healthy, but the city has to, first of all, be on the front lines of acknowledging that we have a serious problem. So we have to use the state agency, the Office on Minority Health Issues. I will put that on the front. A worthy administration will make sure that we, okay.
Thank you.
What we need from the next mayor of this city, and it's the kind of leadership that knows how to reach out and engage. The health crisis in our community is at an all-time high, in my opinion, and we need leadership in the city that knows how to connect families and children with a wide range of social service agencies and health agencies all across this county. We've got to stop behaving as though we're out on an island unto ourselves here in this 7.5 square mile city. there are many, many agencies, and I happen to participate regularly with the Trenton Area Stakeholders Collaborative. Many agencies throughout this county that can provide the kind of services around health that our families so desperately need. The mayor of this city and the government, the city council, its leadership, must do a much better job of connecting students and families with the social services they need to be prepared to learn. Many of our children are not prepared when they enter a school building because they're lacking the multiple layers of support that these health agencies and social service nonprofits can provide, and it's up to the mayor and the leadership of this city to make that connection for families. Thank you.
Clearly there is a need for a continuum of care to be given to our residents in this city. It's a vital and important aspect that the next mayor has to have the proven ability to do. Being that I worked at the Henry J. Austin Health Center as the Director of Operations and Personnel for 7 years, I know the importance of a facility like that, to work with a city administration, Department of Health and Human Services, to work with our local nonprofits throughout our city and region, to work with our local hospitals, to come together to talk about the healthcare needs of a city like the city of Trenton. Not only our youth and our babies for prenatal care, but for our seniors for the care that they need and the access to care. These are the things that I think the next mayor, along with a strong administration working through our council, have to be able to deliver quality access to care, quality continuum of care, where you can bring all the healthcare professionals, stakeholders together in a room under a common vision to talk about the life cycle of care that is needed to help bring up the quality of life of residents in our city, that then they're able to be competent and add to our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Obesity and healthcare programs and issues in our community are absolutely important to all of us. But the first thing we need to do, and I'm asking this community, so le voy a preguntar a ustedes, por favor, necesitamos saber quién son los que están en esta comunidad. Because si no conocemos quién vive en esta comunidad, no hay recursos. So what I just said is, if I don't know who's in the community, I can't give you resources. As the mayor, I need to know who you are. There are many programs out there, Health and Human Services, who provide funding at the federal level. You have the National Institute of Health, who provide funding at the national level. I happen to have worked at the National Institute of Health, so I know these programs. So as the mayor, I have the reach back capability to pick up the phone and call these people and figure out where are we in our application process. So that's one of the things that I would do. Absolutely, I would absolutely work with nonprofits and social services who are around and have the humanitarian type organizations, and also public-private partnerships. There's a lot of people who want to help our people, but we need to make sure that we understand who they are, where they're located, how to get the services to them, and ensure that community participates. Because if I don't know that you exist, I can't help you as the mayor.
What has been a mistake you made, and how did you correct it, Mr. Goldman?
Throughout my 40-year career in law enforcement, I served as, you know, as a police chief, and came here to the city of Trenton 14 years ago as the city's first civilian police director. And I would say that as I look back over my career and experiences, one of the mistakes I think I made was not really fully understanding and appreciating the need for labor and management to work closely together to solve these difficult problems that we have. A contentious, strident relationship between management and labor unions, particularly public employee labor unions, is something that we need to overcome, especially in the city of Trenton now, when we have so many contracts and labor agreements that have expired or are up for renewal. I intend to ask everyone who calls themselves a leader in this community, and I mean especially those who lead our collective bargaining units, to come to the table with us as a group of leaders, check our egos at the door, and let's work together on behalf of citizens to do the kind of work together that we desperately need to do in order to improve our city. Thank you.
Mistakes made, and how do we correct them? Thank you. I'm sure over the course of my career I've made a number of mistakes and had the ability to correct them, but one project that I won't name stands out most of all in my mind, where I directed staff to go to do something that I thought and we thought would serve the best interests of our community. And what we did not do was seek the input in that particular community, what the input of the neighbors were in that community. And what wound up happening, we had to do the job twice. It was an important job learned, important experience learned. Certainly taught the value that when we go into communities and we're doing the work of the community, they have to be a vital part of the process in trying to determine what that community needs, how they need it, and when they need it. It was a lesson learned that certainly that I value for the balance of my career that has helped me to be successful since that time, to make sure that stakeholders involved in the process, and as mayor, I intend to use that valuable lesson to make sure every project that we undertake, every major policy that we will write, has the input of our entire city, the business leaders, the stakeholders in our city, to be a viable part so that the accountability can be held where it should be. Thank you.
I think I would use the example of buy-in. Buy-in is very important. As you go through your experiences and you go into the junior executive level and then on up to the senior executive levels, you have these challenges that are presented to you. And a lot of times, understanding what buy-in means and the importance of it is usually learned right on the spot. I'll just give you a quick example, because they can be small and they can be big. I worked at the Export-Import Bank and I wanted to change and put some beautiful rugs out. And I had my people go out and buy the rugs and we laid them down, and guess what? It was a bad mistake. And the reason why it was a bad mistake was because I forgot that we had a very valuable seal that needed to be included in our new layout. So buy-in from the people is always important. I think that's the biggest learning lesson that I had in my career, and I think that's what made me a much better leader now, because I understand every time I go out to make a decision, you have to have people involved. You don't have all the answers. You need to engage people. You need to make sure that you empower them so that they can come back and give you the best input possible to make you successful.
One of the mistakes that I made that I soon learned very quickly, when I made a transformation from as an educator to a employee working in an office, the mistake I made was that I felt that adults should know better than to bully people. I thought bullying was just in the classroom, but that's not true. And I made the mistake of thinking that the expectation that I had of people weren't necessarily the norm in the office. So I had to make sure that we did extensive training, diversity training, so that people, adults who you wouldn't think had to have it, understood that there were people from different walks of life and different places, and that you will have to accept this ever-changing culture that we have, and you have to appreciate it, because you don't always get a chance to pick who you work with, but you have to deal with the people and you have to treat them like human beings. Thanks.
We're going to give you the opportunity to share a great success. What significant achievement or initiative with community-wide impact in Trenton are you most proud of, and what was your role in it?
I can answer that one a lot easier than the last one. I am proud that during my tenure as a public works director in this city, I put together the pavement management system, which was a 15-year plan that gave an evaluation of every street in the city of Trenton to be repaved. We were able to purchase the equipment, train the staff, and as a component of that, began to, with in-house staff, pave in excess of 50 blocks per year, every year over a 5-year period. The significance of that was, prior to that time, the only grant dollars that were received were from the New Jersey Department of Transportation, and approximately 9 city blocks were paved the years prior. I saw a greater need. I was able to assess it, to train staff, convince council to purchase the equipment, prepare the men and women who work for us to do the work. And from that time forward, we paved in excess of 50 streets per year. In addition to that, we look at the potholes in our city today. Under my administration, I purchased a pothole filler truck. It replaced 3 men, 3 different shifts, which is 9 people, through the power and efficiency of 1 truck to do the same work that 9 men did. They're the type of technologies that I brought and I'm proud of to the city of Trenton.
Very much. As you all know, I've been traveling throughout the course of my career, but I still have an impact on my community. And one of the largest impacts that I had here in this community was that I helped a program called Boyd. Many people here are very familiar with the program called Boyd. It's run by Bruce Boyd, and it helps young men become educationally enhanced. When I was at the National Science Foundation, I helped the program receive over $5,000 in computer equipment, printers, laptops, that today has made that program grow over several times. They have now reached out throughout the course, or throughout the state of New Jersey, because of that capability. I delivered them personally. Mr. Bruce Boyd will tell you that. I ordered a truck, put them in a U-Haul, drove them up, put them in the warehouse for them, and then delivered them the next day. So I'm very proud of that achievement, even though I wasn't here, and it's affecting our community on a daily basis.
I did a lot of work in the community, but one of the things that I'm most proud of is when I worked for the New Jersey General Assembly as a young intern, and I actually did research on apartheid and the Sullivan principles when New Jersey wanted to divest in South Africa. And I worked at the time with Assemblyman John Watson, and we had the opportunity to study the Sullivan principles and to work on legislation to end apartheid. And that was, I think, my most fruitful thing that I did in the community.
The thing that I'm most proud of since coming to Trenton as the police director in 2000 is the fact that together as a community and a police department, we rolled out a brand new policing strategy known as community-oriented policing here in Trenton. One of the hallmarks of that strategy was our citizen police advisory councils, wherein we engaged and empowered citizens all across the city to work in a real partnership with the police department to identify and solve problems at the neighborhood level before they became big crime problems. 14 years later, we still have citizen police advisory councils throughout the city. In the years following my 28 months of service as police director, we became a safer city. The fact that my wife and I chose to remain here after I left the position in 2002 is the fact that we were a safer, more vital city. I'm running for mayor 14 years later because we still live here, and I believe we can once again become a more livable and vital city. We can only do that, however, if we empower each other, work together in a real partnership to make it happen, and I intend to do that as your next mayor. Thank you.
As mayor, you would get to appoint the Board of Education, which oversees our public schools. What would be your criteria for appointments to the board? And what would you expect of those people that you appoint? How would you monitor the board's performance?
I would appoint qualified people. I would also oversee that, and I would ask that they engage me and keep me informed as to the progress of what we're doing with the vision of the Perez administration when it comes to education. It would be very, very important that we be team players with the union. We have to be team players with the other board members. We have to be team players with the superintendent. And we must help our teachers. Our teachers cannot do it alone. We have to help our teachers, get them the proper resources, and I think we can be successful if we do that.
We all know that education is the cornerstone of our great democracy. And I would do everything to make sure that the people that are appointed to the Board of Education share my philosophy in education. And that is to make sure that our children get the right resources, the right tools, and that we have the right staff to make sure our goals are complete. We need STEM people that understand that science, technology, engineering, and math must be high on our priority list for our schools to be successful. We have to be able to compete globally in this world. And if we do not appoint school board members who share that vision, then they must go. Because we got to make sure that they have everything they need to understand my values as a mayor and our commitment to education.
We must understand that there's new legislation that was enabled here in the state of New Jersey that enjoyed unanimous bipartisan support for education reform throughout the state. We've got to get our arms around that and begin to implement some of those reform measures set forth in that legislation. The fact of the matter is the mayor and the appointed school board have to finally come together, work with citizens, empower parents, empower families, but let's dig in and get these reforms done. The status quo is no longer acceptable. Fewer than 50% of our children graduating on time. An abysmal level of reading and math proficiency at grade level. Unacceptable. Let's work together. Let's empower parents. I'm going to have an education advisory board that's going to work closely with advocacy groups around education. If we don't improve our educational system, we can virtually forget about having a clean, safe city. We need to help our children, help our families. If you can read, you can succeed, and we need to make that happen here in the city.
I would be sure to make sure that the most qualified individuals that represent the diversity of our city are appointed to our school board. To assure transparency in that process, I've already committed to doing this by way of an education panel for stakeholders, educators, parents, to sit with me, to screen and interview prospective school board members so that we can be sure there's no patronage, there's no friends, but only the best and most highly qualified individuals that represent the diversity of our city, who have a passion and a vigor to ensure that our children can learn at the highest level, will be appointed to the school board by virtue of that process. To measure their performance, to make sure that our achievement gap is closing. The members appointed to the board will be held as well to a high standard along with the superintendent. Quarterly, biannually, we will have reports of progress made on how we're closing the achievement gaps, how our children are doing better on our proficiency tests, how under the guidance of the Race to the Top and No Child Left Behind provisions of our law, how we're measuring up statewide. But more importantly, we have to give more support to the teachers in the classroom.
A specific type of crime, would you support a truancy and curfew initiative to curtail the increase in youth-driven violent crime? And what proven crime reduction initiatives are you familiar with and would seek to implement if elected?
Well, first of all, I think I would absolutely agree with the curfew. I think the city currently has a curfew. However, I don't think it's actually imposed. I don't think they follow the curfew. But I would definitely make tougher standards on our curfews. But we have to educate our community because certain people are being targeted for crimes, and it's unfair and it needs to stop. We have got to train our officers and our people that they need to be more diverse and understand different cultures. We have to go out in the community and make sure the police go out and teach the people who are victims of these crimes on what to do and how to prevent being at the wrong place at the wrong time. I know it sounds corny, but especially in the Latino community, you guys are being targeted, and I think that should be a hate crime, because no one should have to be a victim because of who they are and where they come from. We have to stop it, and we have to be committed to going out in these areas and making sure that the residents that are being targeted are warned and we have to make sure that they know exactly what's going on. And I don't think we're communicating that effectively. I think the sheriff and a few other people have met with some of these people in the community, but they have to do more.
I have to say that there's no other candidate in this race that understands policing and law enforcement to the extent that I do. That's what I've done for more than 40 years in my professional career. And in the city of Trenton, as police director, we were able to drive down violent crime in our city largely because of the empowerment and engagement that I spoke of earlier. What we're going to do here is, first of all, establish competent, highly qualified leadership in our city government. We're going to go to the governor, we're going to go to the county executive, we're going to go to the business community and make them understand that we need their help and support in adding police officers to our force, number one. Number two, we're going to have a target-specific intervention plan around violent crime. When I was police director for the 3 years we were here, our homicides were 19, 14, and 15. Now we're breaking records for homicides and shootings, 37 homicides last year. That's unacceptable and inexcusable. We can do a far better job, and we will, by engaging you, the citizens. We know cops on the beat, in the neighborhood, working closely with citizens to identify and solve those small problems before they become big, violent problems in our community. That's the strategy we're going to employ going forward.
Let me begin by saying certainly I would support strong truancy programs, putting additional SROs or school resource officers back into our schools where they've been depleted, and supporting curfews where necessary throughout our city. In addition to that, and primarily, I'm an advocate of increased police visibility throughout our city. Increased police visibility means putting foot patrols or our local cops back in our neighborhoods, walking in our business district, connecting with the business owners and the members of our community. We have to get back to creating safe districts and safe business districts for our neighborhoods and for our businesses. We have to create safe school passages for our children to walk to and from school. We have to use technology to assist us in that. Clearly, I'm aware of the fact that there is targeted crime, and to that end, we have to put together what I call a violent offender spotlight, where we key in and look at the most violent offenders in our city who are most prone to create violent offenses and target them every month, their activities, so that none of us become victims of violent crime in our city. And as your next mayor, I'm committed to strong community policing where police now know us in our neighborhoods and interact with us in our communities.
I would like to start off by saying that I have had over 15 years of experience as a criminal investigator in the United States Army Criminal Investigation Command. Not only did I investigate robberies, but I investigated homicides. I spent 15 years doing that and at a highest solve rate in doing that. And one of the first things that you do when you start talking about crime is you look at what is the root cause of that crime. And I just did that last week. And in particular, focusing on the Latino community. I met with Santander Bank. I met with Wells Fargo Bank. And what we wanted to do was we wanted to say, how can we get our undocumented workers who are being targeted by these individuals to get access to bank accounts so that they can then reduce the vulnerability that they provide to these unscrupulous personnel. So that's the way that I would go about beginning to do that, because you do have to understand how that works. Do I believe in truancy? We would have to evaluate the possibilities of whether or not we would implement that. We would definitely continue to work with the local businessmen to have high visibility of police patrols, whether it be beat, bicycle, or otherwise.
I have one straightforward question. Our campaign team, the Trenton Forward campaign team, has made a commitment going forward that we're going to set the example of leadership by not contributing to the blight and disorder that we see all across our city, by putting up our campaign literature on abandoned properties. And as I travel throughout this city, I have seen everywhere campaign literature of candidates some of whom are seated at this table, with that literature up on blighted, abandoned, and vacant properties. So my question, and I'll say it specifically to Mr. Jackson because there are other candidates whose literature I've seen are not at this table. Are you willing to join the Trenton Forward team and demonstrate leadership by not contributing to the blight and disorder and decay that we see across our city and remove your campaign literature from abandoned properties? Are you willing to do that?
You have 1 minute and 15 seconds to reply.
I'm committed to bringing great leadership to our city. I'm committed to making sure that we uphold every ordinance in the city. I'm committed to following the right provisions of the law. I'm committed to doing the things that we're required to do. And if such, we're in violation of any signs where they should not be, my campaign will be clear to remove them from those locations. Thank you.
How do you plan to engage with the Latino community in your administration?
I wanted to say earlier, I believe that Latino Hispanic business owners make up about 80% of small businesses in the city of Trenton. So clearly, with that statistic, you're a major contributor to our city's economy and its vitality. I believe that we have to sit down with the business community, especially in the Latino neighborhoods, to make sure that we have the right kind of liaison with the community to not only strengthen and support the community, but to frankly learn best practices. We've got an emerging immigrant population in this city that, as was stated at the outset, are doing wonderful things. And instead of us complaining or lamenting the fact that we're losing businesses and we are gaining, I believe, much more. And we need to work with the Latino Hispanic community to understand those best practices and to seek to replicate those throughout the city. I intend to do that by establishing a liaison directly with the community to help us improve all across the city.
I begun this process well over a year ago by having conversations with members of the Latino Hispanic community, by having conversations with members of the Merchants Association and many individual Latino business owners to understand first the needs of this very important community that make up a vibrant part of our city. To that end, I've committed to these individuals to create and I believe we have a Latino Merchants Association already, to work with them and other individuals in our business community in particular, that I would meet with them on a monthly basis to make sure that their needs, their concerns are heard, and more importantly, we bring resolution to the problems specific to their community. In addition to that, similar to what Mayor Nutter did in 2013, I've committed to opening in my administration the Office of Immigrant and Multicultural Affairs to allow for access to services through my administration. I think this is a viable and critical component that we need, that will speak to every department across our government and to the nonprofits across our city. Thank you.
The Latino community is the economic engine of this city. That's what's keeping Trenton alive today. I would begin by providing the Latino community in my administration bilingual services that we will include everyone who is currently engaged in helping keep this city alive. I would also ensure that everyone knows, and I ask you all, go back, tell the community it's very important that I know who's here, because we need to know you so that we can give you the right resources. We have a bill right now that's about to be presented, and we hope that's passed when it comes to a New Jersey driver's license. We hear about our community who has to travel 4, 5, 6, 7 extra hours to get to and from work because they can't drive to work. We need to support municipal identifications. We need to make sure that we understand that if we have a community present, we must speak that language. That's how we engage one another. I would create a Latino liaison office because it's not only for immigrants, it's for all Latinos.
I absolutely have to commend the Latino community. You are the steam engine, the engine of our community, and you are doing it in ways that we just have to respect. And not only are you doing it with businesses, you're doing it with your children in school. You're making sure that your children are engaged in learning. Your parents are coming to board meetings. Your parents are coming to parent-teacher conference. And we absolutely have to provide more opportunities for you in city government and in starting your own business. So what I would do, I would work with the Latino community on a monthly basis, that create a round table to sit down with the banks so that they can go over opportunities as with the Community Reinvestment Act, so that they can turn your community and give you all the things that you need, the resources and tools to keep thriving, so that we could communicate to the other people who are interested in businesses, you can do it, and we're going to help you. So if I become the mayor, you will have a friend, Latinos, at the table.
Many immigrant citizens, residents in the city are, as you know, not U.S. citizens. In fact, many are here in an undocumented or unauthorized status. However, they are working here, they're investing in our city, they own businesses, they own homes, they pay taxes, and as was pointed out, they are raising American citizen children. The situation is at an impasse. There is lack of progress in terms of immigration reform in Washington. What will your administration do to address this lack of progress?
Clearly, the Jackson administration would support the pathway to citizenship for individuals in our city. But our administration, moreover, through the Office of Immigrant and Multicultural Affairs, would do everything in our power to support access to governmental services, to make sure that from the social services to the services that we provide to inspections, that we give every individual the highest integrity, the highest service that we can to provide a good service to our citizens of our city. Our administration will be committed to equal access and equal equality of access to services that we provide, particularly to those who may be undocumented, that our government would be an immigrant-friendly government, but will be a government that's friendly to all people in the city of Trenton. Thank you.
I would truly support the Immigration Reform Act, and I would definitely support the pathway to citizenship. I would hold the state government accountable also for their deal that they made with us when it came to the DREAM Act. Because they promised us something and then now they're reneging. But again, we cannot show and demonstrate power at this level, the local level, on federal law if we don't demonstrate that we have true power. And we show that power through our presence. We have to be present. We need to be accountable. We need to come out so that when I stand and talk to the assembly people, the state senators, the federal senators, and then they go on and talk, Trenton will be present because we have a true community that's coming out of the shadows and into the present. If we do that, then you will put me in a position of bargaining in power when it comes to the governor, who then can talk to other people and our other elected officials who are in Washington, from congressmen to senators. It's all about whether or not we want to get out of the shadows and be counted. One of the main themes in our campaign is everybody counts. I can't count you if you're not present.
The leader of the city is going to set the tone for welcoming all people. We have to welcome everyone. I don't care how you got here, but you're here. And you deserve to be treated like a human being, and you deserve to be treated with all the services that we can provide, whether you're documented or undocumented. But the mayor and the city officials have got to have a welcoming environment, because we are many faces, but we are one familia. We have got to get along with each other, and we have got to welcome everybody to the table.
There is no better model for the kind of growth and vitality that we need across our city than what is happening in the Latino Hispanic community. As I go door to door and as the campaign team works with me, knocking on doors, we see hard-working people who are taking care of their homes, who are building and creating businesses, who are demonstrating by their work ethic and by what they do in the community that this is how you grow a city. This is how you make it more livable and more vital. To me, it's no-brainer stuff. We ought to take what you're doing in your community and try to do it all across this city if indeed we're going to improve our quality of life and be a better capital city. I intend to work very closely with the Latino community to make sure that we are doing the best practices that you're demonstrating all across this city. And I believe if we do that, if we have that kind of leadership, that kind of partnership, then Trenton as a whole, not just one neighborhood or one community, but as a whole city, can be more livable and more vital. Thank you very much.
What will you do to strengthen the relationship between the city of Trenton and the local colleges?
Right now, I have one of my senior advisors who's here with me tonight, Dr. Celestine Chikumba, who services and works and just opened up the Up Honor program downtown in downtown Trenton. That's a very important program, right? And some of our children or some of our students are currently involved in that program. But I would go beyond that. What I would do is I would continue to reach to Rider College, to Rutgers University, one of my schools, which was Bloomfield College, all the way up north. We don't have to limit it to this area, but the entire state of New Jersey. There are other programs that we need to bring in here from Aspira, because Aspira is still around. There's other programs that are currently in existence that we can lure into Trenton that would help and provide better opportunities to otherwise not informed students in our community. And that would benefit everyone, not just Latino, because I went to college under what was called the Equal Opportunity Fund back then. And that was not a Latino fund. It was an equal opportunity fund. So all of my personal experiences and those that currently exist would be exploited to its fullest to give our children the best chance to gain education and to build that relationship with the schools.
Going into the schools, I am absolutely proud of the partnerships that we have with the colleges in the area. First of all, I know for a fact that the Trenton Public Education Foundation uses deans from colleges to come in to help our students with the robotics programs, with the debate teams, with we have Bonner students, which we have one right there, raise your hand, who absolutely work with our students in the after-school program. They are engaging the kids, they are teaching the children. We can do more. We're doing it, but we definitely could do more. We have to get down and go to the colleges and recruit more of these students to let them know that our kids are welcoming, we appreciate diversity, and we appreciate the fact that they are coming in to help us out. A lot of the Joyce Kilmer Elementary School, they have a connection with the College of New Jersey. The students come in once a week to talk to and mentor the students about college life. So we're on the right track in Trenton about using partnerships with our local colleges, but we can do a little bit more, especially with our community college downtown.
This question goes back to the whole idea of partnership and reaching out beyond the city's borders, and I think this is a great example of how we can do that. We certainly intend, in my administration, to have a real partnership with the colleges and universities that surround our city, but not just for the sake of having a partnership or even to address education. But I believe that when you consider the capacity, the collective intellectual capacity of Princeton, Rider, the College of New Jersey, Mercer County Community College, the students that they're producing, we can do so many things in every dimension of our society. Education, business, family, health, social services. We need to have that kind of strong partnership with these institutions to do that. And then finally, in that process, one of the initiatives that we're going to foster is to work in the effort to get these young people not only to come into the city and work with us, but to live here in the city. It makes no sense to me for those institutions to be producing young professionals, college graduates, and allowing them to leave this area altogether when we can keep them right here in the city of Trenton, paying taxes and contributing to our economic base here in the city of Trenton. Thank you.
In the Jackson administration, it's a clear priority that education is critical and paramount. And as such, it does talk about the leadership of that administration to make sure that we reach out through my mayor's office in support of public education to make sure we're talking with and partnering with Mercer County Community College, not only the administration but the students there, Thomas Edison, and the local colleges in our region. We understand this, and I've done it already in working with Princeton University. Working through their administration, their student body, we're able to bring Princeton students to the city of Trenton to do training, tutoring, mentoring, social service, life skill training, work training, to allow our students to be exposed to the things on a college setting that they otherwise would not have been allowed to do. I believe it's incumbent that the leadership, a mayor, bring together these brain trusts to also help us figure out how do we close the achievement gap here in our city. How do we bridge over some of the gaps that we need to do with our ESL and dual language programs? I want to bring in some of the intellect around our city, around our region, to make sure we bring in all the stakeholders to the table to have a part in the conversation to deal with the education, and not only the education, but the social issues of our city. Thanks.
What will your administration do to make the city more efficient using smart technology, Mr. Worthy?
The first thing I would do is get a system in City Hall, especially in that water department, that they can take debit cards, so that I don't have to use my. They don't take checks. They don't take cash. It's the simple things that matter when you're talking about services to a city. I can't believe someone wanted a copy of a map today in my campaign headquarters, but of course they didn't take debit. Who doesn't take debit cards in 2014? We absolutely have to use technology. We're so far behind. I can't believe how far behind the city is with technology. We absolutely have to have apps so that people can tweet where the crimes are taking place. We have to have cameras in places where the crime is heavy. We have to use technology. It's ludicrous on how we can't use the common technology in Trenton. Whoever is an IT person, we got to start from scratch, because we need basic services and technology and city government.
In my view, smart technology is the centerpiece of our new economy. We're moving away from, folks, let's face it, we're not making things like we did decades ago, and we just need to come to that realization that the future economy is going to revolve around technology, communications, media, the arts, and we need to establish that fact not only in society but especially in our government. Technology has to also be the centerpiece of how we do business. It's going to be at the very heart of our performance management and accountability system, so that we're able to, you can't just talk about a taxpayer first mentality or quality customer service. You've got to back it up with state-of-the-art technology and systems that will enable you to do that. We're going to have that here. When you call City Hall, not only will you get a response, but you will be able to track, using this technology, every complaint, every system, everything that we say we're going to do. Technology is going to enable us not only to do it, but to keep track and to hold ourselves accountable to you to make sure that we do what we say we're going to do. We don't have that now, but we absolutely must have it going forward. Thank you.
As I said earlier, I'm a strong advocate of working smarter by using technology to help us do our jobs better and more efficiently. And I told you about a few of the projects that I use using technology. But there's more that we can do. We must move City Hall from a paper environment to an electronic environment. I believe all bills that are able to be paid through City Hall should be able to be done electronically, that the paper process has to go away. I also believe that we work smarter by using cameras to assist our police. We use license plate detector systems that are out in the technology world. That we use a city stat application that works real time for high-level accountability. How does that work? When there's an abandoned property in your neighborhood, you go to your iPhone, you click on that city app, touching that address, you will anonymously plug it into our system. It will be tracked real time. In 30 days, there'll be a response back to your phone on the status of that particular address. If there's a pothole, if there's a street that needs to be repaid, if there's an abandoned property, real time, you can plug it into that app and help us track that, and you'll get a response back in real time in 30 seconds. We have to absolutely use technology to help us work smarter, to work more effectively, to serve all the citizens of our city.
I love to bring Trenton into the 21st century. Just last week, I released one of my papers, and it was the Trenton Broadband Initiative. I met personally with the Executive Vice President, Eric Sevis of Comcast. I also met with the Executive Vice President of Verizon, Mr. Sam Delgado, to speak about what are the current technologies available in the city of Trenton. And you know what? You would be surprised. We have a lot of it. We have a lot of it. We just haven't had the leadership that understands it. I understand it. I ran IT when I was at National Science Foundation. I introduced that app that Mr. Jackson just mentioned about when you go to City Hall and you can get your smartphone. Everybody here has a smartphone. You can pick up the smartphone. You can go in there. Wouldn't we be wonderful to do business with City Hall with your smartphone? But there are many things. Virtual technologies can help our schools and our students. You know, you can learn from class. You could even attend a city council meeting virtually. You could also machine-to-machine technologies, which is no more parking meters, but you can make money. We can generate revenues that are going away from us right now through parking. You can find a parking spot. You can help public safety. You can do digital media. Companies will come here because of it.
The question is, how would you involve the clergy when it pertains to helping to solve the problems in the community?
I think we engage the clergy just like we do all segments of our community. I mean, that's the one thing that I keep harping on. You know, when we talk about community engagement or community policing, in this case I'll say community government, it has to be all-inclusive. Clearly, every institution in our society plays an important role and must bear responsibility for improving our quality of life. And in this case, the faith community has to be at the table. But it's not just the faith community, it's all segments of our community. The media, civic associations, the political, all of us. And we need the right kind of leadership that is not afraid, that is bold enough, courageous enough, and certainly willing to bring people together. I believe the faith community, I talk a lot about moral purpose. And those of us in the faith community know another way of saying that is spiritual purpose. And if we really are serious about improving conditions in our city and changing things, we absolutely must have the faith community, the clergy, seated at the table with us, working together in a real partnership to make these things happen.
As an ordained deacon in the local church, I absolutely know the relative importance of the faith-based community in our community. It's vital to have faith-based leadership, to come together, though, united, to deal with some of the issues that we're faced with across our city. I've long have understood the vitalness of having the faith community involved at the table. And for far too long, we have not had the leadership to collectively bring them to the table across all religious faiths and backgrounds to talk about the services that they provide already on a daily basis to their members, parishioners, and families each and every week. We've also underutilized the faith-based leadership to help us in partnering with the administration to give out information that is critical to our city, critical to our communities, critical to the people that and the congregants that each faith-based leader serves on a weekly and daily basis. I understand the vital importance, and as such, I'm committed to working with the clergy on a monthly basis to make sure that we understand and share in our value systems and the service gaps that we have in our community. How do we stronger partner with our nonprofits to move our cities forward?
I would absolutely support faith-based leadership being involved in my administration. As a soldier, one of the things that I had that would keep me in comfort was my trips that I took often to the chapel. And I got to learn and meet a lot of people who were in the chaplain services. I think having chaplains involved in our public safety area would also be very important for us. When I was at the Senior Executive Fellows in Harvard, Boston, Mass. and their leadership came to talk to us about exactly that, how they created a faith-based leadership task force that helped in responding to crime, giving comfort to families, counseling when they need it, and also reinforcing the support needed by the families who were going through these things. Trenton is currently suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. Our children are going to school and they're not receiving the proper counseling. Our teachers are teaching these kids and they need support and counseling. And then the parents need support and counseling. And then if we do this correctly, it would absolutely give an opportunity to work with them in the best way forward.
As a member of Shiloh Baptist Church and a member of the Board of Trustees there, I do recognize the need for the clergy to get in the community and definitely do their part in helping out. But I do know for a fact that our church is engaged in the community. We have mentorship programs, we have activities, yearly activities so that the families can come into the church. We have Vacation Bible School. We have other things that we do, toy drives, backpack initiatives for back to school. We always have something going on, and this great church right here seems to be doing the same thing. I mean, you're welcoming us here, you're informing the community, and that is something that churches need to do. They need to open up their doors for a more welcoming to be more welcoming to the community, because I do think that faith and churches have a role in our life. And I know there's a separation between church and state, but I think that we did better when we went to church and we participated in the things that churches offer, the religion. Also, we have to talk to our pastors and our rabbis and our priests to make sure that they get back into schools and help the teachers teach our children how to be more spiritual.